You're listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author Sarah Boxx, where you get the inside scoop on the steps action takers and decision makers take to align their purpose to their principles and achieve their goals in business and life. We focus on the mantra, no labels, no limits, no excuses. And now, without further ado, please welcome your commanding coach with plenty of chutzpah and heart, Sarah Boxx.
Hi, this week I want to talk to you about angels and elevators and the unlikely inspiration you can find when you listen, look, and engage. So last week and this week to come, I spent a lot of time in a hospital. I was on the telemetry floor. I personally was not. I was there on behalf and with someone else, but I was coming and going. And I was on the telemetry floor, which is the only other thing on that floor is intensive care. So you've got the ICU unit and the telemetry unit. And so folks going up there are typically going up there for serious business, and they're stressed. So at the beginning of the week, as I was doing the back and forth and switching out with my husband and in the caregiving and following up, I realized I went up, and you have to check in. So I go up to check in, say who I am, where I'm going. And there's a gal ahead of me who I actually thought, because she was dressed so tight and professionally, was probably a rep for something or another. But I heard the security guard giving her instructions of where to go. And I heard the room number. She said, well, I'm trying to get to this room number, which told me she was there for another patient. And it was right next door to where I was going. And I just said, come on, I'll show you where it is. Because when you get up to that floor, it's a little confusing. And I'd been there, so I knew my way around. So we're on the elevator and she is thanking me. And I said, no, really, it's fine. You know, I said, are you here on business? And so she proceeded to tell me she was here to support a friend who was in the hospital, and she was trying to help her out, and that she herself had moved to our area with her sons because she was leaving a violent marriage. Now, I have to tell you that I have done work in this field for years, and I know the courage that it took her to get to this point. And, you know, we're only going one floor and then a little walk down some halls. So I said, well, you know, congratulations. You are a brave woman. Great for your boys that you're showing them what it takes to stand up and be healthy, all of that. And so I got her to a room and we said our goodbyes, and I went into my room. And then a little while later, I hear a little knock on the door of the room I'm in, and she waves at me and like, can I come in? Which is fine. So I have her come in and she goes, I want to give you this. So she has created for herself, as part of her own healing, these little origami thank you cards. And it just says, I love you because, and something I had done for her moved her. So she wanted to share that. But it allowed us to get talking. And she told me some of her story. And I should have known when she told me her name, which was Angelica, or I like to say, because I have another good friend with that name, Angelica. I should have known that she was special in some way. She just had that spark. So we talked for a little bit, and then she went on her way and we exchanged information. And she told me what she was about in a strange, new, much larger space that she'd been in, and getting her kids enrolled in school. I mean, what a crazy time, right? To move, to be caring for a friend who is opening her home to her, and then being able to, at the same time, be aware of others around her and express gratitude. So a couple of days later, I'm back in the room and she knocks on the door and she says, hey, I just wanted to say goodbye. Think my friend is well, we're going home, and I'll reach out to you. And I hope she does. It doesn't matter to me whether she does or not in the long term. I just feel that she graced my day that day as I had done hers. And it all started by me watching her and just thinking, there's something here. She's a little lost, a little stressed. Just let me ask. I'm willing to show you, right? Side note is the security guard appreciated it because it's kind of hard to explain where you're going with all the lefts and rights. So that was at the beginning of my week. And, you know, it's a stressful week in and out. And it wasn't so much that the week was tough, because it, compared to the person I was caring for, it was not as tough for me as for that person or my family, extended family. But yesterday, prior to me recording this, I'm going upstairs to meet my brother, who is also there. And I come off of the elevator and I walk into this group. Right when you turn the corner, there was probably 15 or 20 of these young folks, and I'd say maybe late 18, 19 to mid to late 20s, all wearing a similar black t-shirt that had writing on it. I couldn't read the writing because I didn't want to stare at them, and I was headed past them. So I noticed them, but I knew the vibe was serious, solemn, and they were unified in some way in their grief. And I was super curious about what was going on, and yet at the same time respectful that it wasn't mine to know. So I kept on going, spent the day, and as I was leaving, going down the elevator, again, another angel in the elevator, the doors open and this gal's on the phone wearing the same black t-shirt. So she's talking to someone on the phone, and I ask if I can come in. She says, come in. So we go down one floor, and as we're walking out of the building, her call drops, right? We've all experienced that. You get somewhere dead signal, and then she goes, oh, I'm going to have to start that whole explanation over again. So I said to her, so how did you get nominated as the person to be the communicator? Because that's my role at this moment, at least in our situation. And she says, well, I am. And now I'm not laughing about this because this was super serious. And she says, because I am the mother of the child of the person who just died. And we donated all of his organs today. And we were on an honor walk. So all of us, I said, so that explains what you were doing there. She goes, yes. So this hospital supports Honor Walk, where they go, and each of the organs that gets donated, they honor the person who's getting it. And anyway, I don't want to go into all of that. You can Google Honor Walk. But the thing that was amazing to me was that both of these women had such strength and dignity in the midst of trouble and worry and grief. And just they shone, and she said, he was young, he was healthy. And if we had to lose him at all, at least we know so many lives will be better because of it. And it made me think about something I had read probably 5 or 6 years ago about folks who had received donor organs, and that oftentimes they noted there was a shift in them, some cellular connection with the person who gave it. Whether that's backed by research or not, I don't know, but I choose to believe that our essence goes way beyond just the moment or our body, and it carries on. So I shared that bit with her. I said, I don't know your spiritual beliefs, but I've read this and I'm sure you could check it out if you want. And she just looked, she goes, you know what, that makes perfect sense. And thanks for sharing that. But for me, both of these women did exhibit how hard it can be to do what we need to do, to make a choice, to see optimism and beauty in the moment. First with the gal who was so appreciative of her friend who opened her home to her and her 2 sons, teenage sons, and her desire to help that woman while she was a guest in her house and healing her own life and her children's lives, getting settled in a new city. And second, to the woman who had lost a dear person to her child's father, and to recognize their beauty in that moment and their willingness to share. And for me, it was a gift and a remembrance of the strength within each of us and the light that we carry, even in our troubles, even in our sad times, but how strong we can be. And that look on an elevator and think about your next conversation, not as an elevator speech, but maybe as an elevator connection. You just never know the angels that are around you. So I know this is a little bit different of a podcast. It's short. I hope that it touches you in some way or reminds you of some other angel in some other location who touched your heart as these women touched mine and lifted your day as well. And with that, I'll see you on the next episode of the No Labels No Limits Podcast. And be sure to check out our podcast. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And thanks again. Have a great week.
You've been listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author, change agent, and strategic vision coach, Sarah Boxx. You can grab the show notes and find out how to work with Sarah at sarahboxx.com/No Labels, No Limits podcast. We'd love this podcast to reach as many people as possible. So please remember to rate, leave a 5-star review, and share the podcast with someone you think would get value from this conversation. Until next time, keep taking those daily action steps to align your purpose to your principles and achieve your goals in business and life.